In our previous episodes, we traced the origins of the Himalayan border dispute and the collapse of the Panchsheel Agreement, setting the stage for the intense territorial friction that defines the modern India-China relationship today. This episode explores why Aksai Chin, a high-altitude desert with virtually no permanent civilian population, remains the most strategically vital piece of territory in the entire 3,488-kilometer line of actual control between India and China. The immediate consequence of the 1962 conflict was China's total consolidation of the Aksai Chin Plateau, effectively severing potential Indian access to the northernmost reaches of the Karakoram Range and altering the regional power balance forever. While no international awards are given for border control, the People's Liberation Army considers the securing of the G219 highway as one of their most significant logistical achievements, officially honoring the engineers who completed the route. China's control of this region fundamentally changed the security calculus for India, forcing the Indian military to maintain a permanent, high-altitude defensive posture across the entire Ladakh sector to prevent further territorial incursions into the region. For the few nomadic populations in the surrounding regions, the militarization of Aksai Chin has meant the loss of traditional grazing routes, as the plateau has been transformed into a strictly controlled, high-security military exclusion zone. This map illustrates the disputed territory of Aksai Chin, showing the vast 37,244 square kilometer plateau that lies between the Kunlun Mountains to the north and the Karakoram Range to the south, serving as a natural barrier. Today, the legacy of the 1962 conflict is preserved in the permanent military infrastructure and the heavy artillery deployments that line the LAC, serving as a constant reminder of the unresolved border status for both nations. A lesser-known fact is that the British government never officially informed the Qin dynasty of the 1865 Johnson Line, a diplomatic oversight that created the fundamental ambiguity regarding sovereignty that persists in modern bilateral border negotiations. Unlike other border disputes globally, the Aksai Chin issue is unique because it involves a high-altitude, uninhabitable desert that serves as the only viable land bridge connecting two of China's most critical, restive western provinces. Modern remembrance of the conflict is marked by the maintenance of the Depsang Plains as a critical choke point, where both Indian and Chinese forces continue to monitor each other's movements with advanced satellite and ground-based surveillance systems. The legacy of the Indian 14 Corps, tasked with defending this sector, is one of extreme endurance, as they operate at altitudes exceeding 5,000 meters, facing harsh winter conditions that require massive logistical support from the Indian state. The timeline of escalation includes the 1957 completion of the G219 highway, the 1962 war, the 1993 and 2005 bilateral peace agreements, and finally the 2020 Galwan Valley clash, which marked a violent return to active border friction. The story of the border infrastructure inspires modern military planners, as it demonstrates the immense value of rapid logistics in high-altitude environments, where the ability to supply troops often determines the outcome of territorial disputes. The primary lesson from the Aksai Chin dispute is that infrastructure development in contested regions is often perceived as a direct threat to sovereignty, leading to rapid military mobilization and the potential for unintended armed conflict. As we conclude this third episode, we have established the strategic necessity of the plateau for China and the territorial imperative for India, setting the stage for our next deep dive into the specific military tactics used. Aksai Chin remains the silent, frozen witness to the shifting ambitions of two rising global powers, a desolate landscape that dictates the security posture of billions of people across the Asian continent for the foreseeable future. This analysis relies on verified historical records from the Indian Ministry of Defence, international research reports, and official bilateral agreements, ensuring a neutral and evidence-based perspective on this complex and ongoing geopolitical border dispute. The Lingzitang Plains, located within the Aksai Chin region, represent a vast, flat expanse that facilitates rapid vehicular movement, which is why both nations have prioritized securing this specific area for their mechanized infantry units. Water security is a critical, often overlooked factor in the Aksai Chin dispute, as the region acts as a drainage basin for several rivers that eventually feed into the Indus Basin, impacting downstream water availability for both nations. The G219 highway, also known as the Xinjiang-Tibet Highway, traverses some of the world's most difficult terrain, reaching elevations of over 5,000 meters and serving as the essential lifeline for the People's Liberation Army in the West. In 1959, Premier Zhou Enlai formally asserted China's claim to the entire plateau, a move that solidified the Chinese position and directly challenged the Indian administration's perception of the border based on the historical Johnson Line. The 1962 Sino-Indian War lasted exactly 1 month, from October 20 to November 21, during which the PLA utilized the G219 highway to rapidly deploy troops and supplies, effectively overwhelming Indian outposts across the Aksai Chin plateau. The forward policy of 1961 was India's attempt to establish small military outposts behind Chinese lines to assert territorial claims, a strategy that China interpreted as an act of aggression, ultimately triggering the rapid escalation of conflict. The Line of Actual Control, or LAC, is not a legally settled international border but a military perception line that has shifted over decades, making it a constant source of friction and potential for localized military skirmishes. India's Border Roads Organization, or BRO, has been tasked with building the DSDBO road to improve connectivity to the Depsang Plains, a strategic move that directly counters China's expansion of spurs connecting to the G219 highway. The Galwan Valley, a narrow and jagged corridor, became the site of the June 2020 clash, the first lethal engagement between the two nations in 45 years, highlighting the extreme volatility of the undemarcated border in this sector. Pangong Tso, a high-altitude lake spanning the border, serves as another critical friction point where both nations have deployed patrol boats and surveillance infrastructure to assert their presence along the contested shoreline of the lake. Hot Springs, located in the Ladakh sector, remains a site of ongoing disengagement talks, as both sides seek to establish buffer zones to reduce the risk of accidental confrontation between their forward-deployed infantry and artillery units. The Karakoram Pass, situated to the west of the Aksai Chin Plateau, is a vital gateway that India must protect to ensure the security of the Ladakh region, making the surrounding plains a high-priority area for military defense. China's strategic depth in Tibet is significantly enhanced by its control of Aksai Chin, as it prevents India from flanking the Tibetan Plateau, thereby securing the southern border of the Xinjiang province from potential military threats. The extreme altitude of the Aksai Chin Plateau, averaging 5,000 meters, presents severe physiological challenges for soldiers, requiring specialized training, oxygen support, and advanced winter housing to maintain a permanent presence in the region. The 1899 McCartney-MacDonald Line was a British proposal to China that placed Aksai Chin within Chinese territory, intended as a buffer against Russian expansion, yet this proposal was never formally accepted or ratified by the Qing government. Modern satellite imagery reveals the rapid expansion of Chinese military outposts and air defense systems across the Aksai Chin Plateau, indicating a long-term commitment to maintaining control over this vital, high-altitude strategic corridor. The instability in Aksai Chin forces India to maintain a two-front military posture, requiring the deployment of significant resources to both the Pakistan border and the China border to ensure national security against potential simultaneous threats. The lack of a permanent civilian population in Aksai Chin simplifies the military logistics but complicates the diplomatic resolution, as there are no local stakeholders to advocate for peaceful development or cross-border civilian cooperation. The 1993 and 2005 bilateral agreements were designed to maintain the line of actual control by establishing protocols for communication and patrol management, yet these have struggled to prevent the recent escalation of border tensions. The engineering feat of the G219 highway is often compared to the construction of the Karakoram highway, as both projects represent significant efforts by China to improve connectivity in the world's most challenging mountain environments. India's claim to Aksai Chin is based on the historical administration of the region as part of the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, a position that has been consistently maintained by the Indian government since independence. China's claim to Aksai Chin is based on its administrative control of the region as part of the Hotan County in the Xinjiang province, a position that has been reinforced by decades of infrastructure development and military presence. The deployment of heavy artillery and air defense systems in Aksai Chin by both nations reflects the high-stakes nature of the territorial dispute, where military superiority is seen as the ultimate guarantor of territorial integrity and security. The 2020 Galwan Valley clash led to an unprecedented increase in the permanent deployment of troops on both sides, with thousands of soldiers now stationed in the region year-round, supported by extensive, purpose-built winter infrastructure. The strategic importance of Aksai Chin is not limited to its land area but extends to its role as a high-ground vantage point, allowing for surveillance and control over the surrounding valleys and mountain passes in the region. The ongoing border dispute is a defining feature of the India-China relationship, impacting trade, diplomatic engagement, and regional security cooperation, as both nations navigate the complexities of their competitive and often tense geopolitical interaction. The history of the Aksai Chin dispute is a testament to the enduring influence of colonial-era border delineations and the subsequent challenges of modern nation-state sovereignty in the context of complex, high-altitude mountain geography and terrain. The resilience of the soldiers stationed in the Aksai Chin region is a subject of national pride in both India and China, reflecting the immense dedication and sacrifice required to maintain a presence in such an inhospitable environment. The development of advanced communication networks and surveillance technology in the Aksai Chin region has transformed the nature of the border dispute, allowing for real-time monitoring and rapid response to any perceived incursions or border violations. The role of international observers and the global community in the India-China border dispute remains limited, as both nations prefer to manage the conflict through bilateral channels, emphasizing the direct nature of the territorial disagreement. The Aksai Chin Plateau's unique geography, characterized by high-altitude plains and mountain ranges, creates a natural barrier that both nations have sought to control to enhance their security and influence in the broader Himalayan region. The future of the Aksai Chin dispute remains uncertain, as both nations continue to invest in infrastructure and military capabilities, signaling a long-term commitment to their respective positions and the unresolved nature of the border. The importance of historical archives and mapping records cannot be overstated in the context of the Aksai Chin dispute, as they provide the evidentiary basis for the competing territorial claims that continue to shape the border conflict. The economic implications of the Aksai Chin dispute are significant, as the region's control influences regional connectivity, trade routes, and the potential for infrastructure development that could link the economies of Central and South Asia. The psychological impact of the border dispute on both nations is profound, as it touches upon issues of national identity, sovereignty, and the historical memory of conflict, influencing public opinion and political discourse for decades. The Aksai Chin region serves as a reminder of the complexities of border management in the 21st century, where territorial disputes are increasingly intertwined with technological, logistical, and strategic considerations that transcend traditional military tactics. The ongoing dialogue between India and China regarding the border is a critical mechanism for conflict prevention, as both sides seek to manage the risks of escalation while maintaining their respective territorial and security interests in the region. As we close this episode, we recognize that the Aksai Chin Plateau remains a central, unresolved piece of the India-China border puzzle, a testament to the enduring challenges of geography, history, and the pursuit of national security.